Good morning and welcome to the upper deck. I'm Lynn, and next to me is Ciarra. So nice to see everybody piling in on the chat. We're keeping you on your toes with the timing of the show, but so glad to see everybody here. We're back. We're back to our 11 a.m. slot, and we're also back to having no baseball to watch. So this show is just going to be loosey goosey and getting our feelings out, getting our thoughts out, maybe doing a little bit of looking ahead, although why would we? Because we could never anticipate what's going on. I'm just going to start by saying I should not be surprised that we're sitting here and not looking forward to an ALCS because the writing was really on the wall in so many ways. There's so much dysfunction in this organization, and we know that. And so are we a little bit like Charlie Brown and the football and Lucy? He knows Lucy's going to take that damn ball away, but he keeps running to kick it anyhow. Is that us? Because I feel like that's us. And yet we're the real ones. I'm not throwing away. It hurt a little to put the jersey on, but I put it on. And I'm still going to be Rep Bronxing forever. But right now, I'm really in my feelings. I am just all over the place with the blaming. My finger is broken from all the pointing it's been doing. And I'm just hoping I can let it all out with all of you today. Ciarra, where are you at?
Well, first of all, good morning, Lynn. Good morning to my besties in the chat. I don't know. The day after the playoffs ended, I was, upset, obviously. I'm kind of indifferent now because until the organization is fixed from top to bottom, I don't really know what else to expect. As far as the 2025 season is concerned, the Yankees gave us some highs. They gave us some really low lows and kind of everything in between. Like right out the gate, Aaron Judge was on a scorcher going for that AL MVP title. He kept up video game numbers all season, like absolutely incredible, even after he came back from an injury. We started the season without Garrett Cole. You started the season without Clark Schmidt, without Luis Gil, without Giancarlo Stanton. You get Gil and Schmidt back in the middle of the season. Schmidt goes down again. Gil never looks the same. Stanton comes back, and in half the games, he puts up the same numbers as some of the better players in the league, but didn't show up in the postseason. And unfortunately, in a season where Aaron Judge carried his numbers into the postseason, and, maybe he wasn't a power hitter, but was still showing up for us, the rest of the team kind of let him down. You had Volpe, who slumped all season, both, offensively and defensively. You had Austin Wells, who, in my opinion, just was not the right call for the catcher. You had Ben Rice was, just lightning in a bottle, but he really needs to work on his defense at first base if that's where they're going to put him. And you had the fact that the Yankees ignored the third base gap until the trade deadline and then brought over a guy who can't hit outside of Coors Field. So overall, it was a very rocky season, and they gave us a lot of false hope along the way. I mean, going into the postseason, the Yankees were the hottest team in baseball going back to August 11th. The wild card was fun. It reignited that rivalry with Boston. They won it. But then they go and they play the Blue Jays, who beat them up all season long, unfortunately. And the Blue Jays just got the best of them. I mean, when Vladdy just is absolutely killing your team off the rip, you have Alejandro Kirk hitting home runs. You got guys that I've never even heard of just destroying baseballs. You can't win like that, unfortunately. And our pitching just really let us down in this postseason in the ALDS, unfortunately. So now just looking forward to, and I say that sarcastically, looking forward to all the craziness of the postseason and what comes our way for 2026, because there are plenty of free agents on this team.
Yeah, and league wide, which we'll get into a little bit later, there's a lot of free agencies, opt-outs, etc. Galore, it seems. And starting with, as we know, Belly, who it's now known plans on, going into free agency. That shouldn't be a surprise. Why wouldn't he? look at the history of this organization, and look where we landed. No one should blame him, and besides, it's Boris, so no one should be surprised by that as well. And we'll talk about Belly. He's definitely on the agenda, and so there's just so much blame to go around. I don't have enough fingers, and blame gets us nowhere, but it does make us, want to think and recalibrate for our own sake. And I'm seeing the feelings coming through in the chat, and so let me just start by doing a quick roll call and putting up some of the feelings we're seeing here. So Jonathan, first attendee, good to see Lori. Hey, Michael, good to see you. CT, what's up? FJ, we got Jared, we got Shayna with that ray of sunshine, even through what's about to be a very cold hot stove season. Good to see you. And Jared and Jacob is here. And we also got, did I say CT? If I did, I'm saying it again. Numbers guy, great to see you. And here's Uncle Tats is here with his message. So yes, we're so grateful to you. Like we say when we close the show every week, we couldn't do it without you. You are in the show. Healing Hearts says it does suck being a Yankee fan right now, which is he's countering what Jared said. I missed that, Jared. Sorry. Lori wants some Upper Deck merch. Hey, I bet Ciarra and I feel the same way. We'll have to work on that in the off season. Lord knows we have plenty of time to work on that. So that's really nice to see. And CT's already talking about football. And Jared, 100%. 16 years without a chip is frustrating, and we're going to that's where we're spinning next after
What is this, the third longest drought we've had, or second longest drought, something like that? I know for like us, like probably 35 and under, this is the longest drought for us.
Oh, definitely for you. Not for the dinosaurs like me, but I don't have Spencer here to give me the exact calculations. So Lori's saying Judge is about to get ripped off for the second time with the MVP.
I don't think so. Sorry. I'll let you finish the chat, but I don't think I think he's still gonna get it. And I'm gonna give you guys a stat that for the reason why.
Ooh, okay. Teaser alert. And so let's see. We have Healing Hearts. I think we got everybody so far. And Lori, you're 100% right. We're going to get into that as well. The rotation let us down. Virtually, I shouldn't say, no, I'm not going to be over exaggerating about this, but there was more than enough letdown to go around. And Heel is definitely on one of them. Yep. And 100% CT Cam went longer than our big stars. And we just got to hope, I'm always going to sort of try to balance things out. We have to make sure that when we see him next year, it's more of the same. We have some guys to remember that sputtered after their first season. But Ben Rice is a great example of lightning in a bottle, sputter, 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 and then, superstar again until the end when there were some issues. So I am so more than cautiously optimistic about Schlittler. So exciting to see. And I think, and I'm praying that there's guys right behind him that are ready or just about ready. So I'm jumping right ahead to spring training. Spring training is going to tell a really big tale because there's a lot of guys chomping at the bit that are ready from what I'm reading and hearing from down below. So yeah, if it wasn't for Schlittler, the effort is just been all on just a few guys instead of all the guys. Hey, Karen, good to see you. All right, so let's get right into it. So in terms of this drought, and let's play the blame game. It's such a fun game. We get to play it so often, too often, and there's always enough blame to go around. So, there's so much blame. Do we blame Hal? Do we blame Cashman? Do we blame Boone? Do we blame the team? Is it all of the above? But let's start with Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone, our manager, and it's been a love, not love situation for virtually his entire tenure, which has really been a losing outing here for him. He is not, since he got here, gotten the job done. So just looking at this, how they re-signed him continues to boggle my mind. And is there any hope in the world, Ciarra, that the front office is looking at this the way we are right now? I'm trying to say it with a straight face.
So I remember when the news broke at the beginning of the season during spring training that they extended Aaron Boone, coming off of a terrible World Series loss, coming into a season where they ignored third base, where they signed Goldschmidt, who, listen, he did the job for the most part, but we were all thinking it. He's close to 40. What are we doing here? An offseason where we didn't address a lot of holes. Their biggest announcement was, hey, we're extending Aaron Boone for 2 seasons. Now, when they look at this, they see winning seasons, right? They see the Yankees are still making money. I believe 2024, it was like their most profitable year. I mean, go figure. You went to the World Series, you had Juan Soto. It was very exciting in the Bronx in 2024. But that's what they're looking at. They're looking at dollar signs and winning seasons and ticket sales. They don't feel the pain that we feel. They don't see the things that we see. I am going to put Aaron Boone in my back pocket for right now because I want to start by blaming the front office because they are the ones who do the roster construction. They are the ones who are complacent. And that charge is led by Brian Cashman, right? That bald-headed weirdo. He ignores the holes that this team has consistently year after year. And I don't want to be the person who sits here and talks about the whataboutisms, but like let's do it for a second. Look at all of the guys in years past that the Yankees passed on because they thought that they had a superstar in their making. We'll start with Anthony Volpe. How many shortstops did the Yankees pass up on because they thought Volpe was the guy? They were going to give him the keys to the kingdom. Brian Cashman has passed up on Bryce Harper because he couldn't play first base. He's been doing it pretty well for a while now, in my opinion. Brian Cashman passed up on Manny Machado. Like, what are we doing here? And you know what? Jazz he had a 30-30 season, so I don't want to discredit Jazz, right? He's fun to watch, but he's not clutch. He doesn't show up when you need him. He's right behind Volpe in defensive errors, and he's supposedly a second baseman by nature. We traded Agustin Ramirez for Jazz, and looking at Ramirez's season, I probably would have kept Ramirez because that would have got rid of the Austin Wells problem, and we probably could have got a better second baseman. Honestly, look at Caleb Durbin. Look at Caleb Durbin. The Yankees traded Caleb Durbin after waving him in our face all the time, like saying he's replacing Gleyber Torres. Traded him for Devin Williams. Devin Williams stunk this season up until the playoffs. I'll give him some props in the playoffs. Caleb Durbin, did you guys watch the playoffs last night? He showed up. He put the beat down on the Cubs. He went 2 for 2, had some great defensive plays. Brian Cashman doesn't make the right moves. And honestly, I don't think it's always been that way, but he's been in office my entire life. It's time to move on. Like, you shouldn't he's a family friend, I get it, but that's where I'm starting with the blame because you're the one who puts the roster together. And then your little front office of, shout out to the Harvard nerds, but your little office of Harvard nerds is the one that puts together the lineup. And then Boone just has to roll with it. And the lineup is too inconsistent. And it's been like that for years. You can't keep flip-flopping between 7 different leadoff hitters and expecting something to work because it's not consistent. The team should know walking into the stadium every day, I am a leadoff hitter. I'm the cleanup hitter. I hit 9th. I went blah, 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 right? But they don't. I still go back to, I think it was the 2022 playoffs when Harrison Bader was leading off, and he literally told the media, I had no idea I was leading off before today's game. It should not be like that. So the front office needs to get their stuff together and learn how to put together a roster that is consistent.
And among this list, when we say front office and when we say Harvard, I think we're specifically talking about Michael Fishman, who
I don't even know if he went to Harvard. I just threw Harvard out there.
I mean, I don't know. I think at this point he went to the DeVry Institute and for court stenography, and somehow got this job. I really, I don't know why he has the power he has, and certainly as a statistician. Wow, I got that out without much caffeine in me. Go me. Statistician. Okay. So, we're driven and ruled by stats. And we've really exhausted this topic, but they're making us. Like, there has to be the Boone or whoever is leading the charge as the team manager needs to be able to use some gut, some intel from the vibe in the clubhouse, and maybe look at the stats every now and then and say, oh wow, Grisham's been at leadoff for quite a while. What do those numbers look like? They looked great for a while, and then they kept him there when perhaps they should have thought about it. I know that's counter to the point you were just making, Ciarra, but there are times leadoff hitter is so key. As much as who you're deciding is your cleanup guy, in my opinion, and so. As that leadoff guy goes, so does the rest of the order. And so, but he's really, if we're going to believe the tales, and I think we do, Boone, I'll give him a little bit of he's handcuffed, but also, you know what? Where is that Billy Martin mentality of, I don't give a frig that you're the owners? Like, I'm the manager. You're paying me to be the manager, and let me manage. There's absolutely none of that coming from there.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not letting Boone off scot-free. I just wanted to start with the people above him.
Oh, now, absolutely.
Aaron Boone, you are the manager, okay? Which means Luis Rojas, Travis Chapman, Matt Blake, Casey Dykman, all of those guys report to you, right? So when they are screwing up, that is then on Aaron Boone. And let's face it, we see that often in the New York Yankees, especially in 2025. How often do the first base and third base coach make mistakes? How often has Matt Blake not done a good job? It's time we have that conversation, because congratulations, he can pick some trash up off the street and make them good in the bullpen. But what has he done for this starting rotation? And I'm not just talking about this season. I just mean, like, in general, what does Matt Blake do for the starting rotation, right? That is where I put the blame on Aaron Boone. Your coaching staff does not do a good job, and that is on you. Your team doesn't play good defense. That is on you. Your team is lackadaisical. That is on you, because every time they pan over to the dugout, you're picking your nose or blowing a bubble, right?
Don't forget the sunflower seeds.
Oh, or the sunflower seeds. Now, do I like when Aaron Boone gets hot-headed and sticks up for his guys? Absolutely. And that's why his players like him, because he is a player's manager. But it gets to a point where, like, are you their friend or are you their manager? That is also where I put the blame on him, right? Because we need to see, I don't need to see you screaming in somebody's face. Like, I don't need to see it happen, but I need to know that there was some accountability, right? Like, look back to 2024. Gleyber Torres got benched, finally, right? After however long of no accountability. And look what that did for him. Why can't you do the same for Volpe, for Wells, for Grisham when he does something stupid, for Jazz when he does something stupid? I don't care that he's a 30-30 player. I don't care if he's a superstar. When he's playing bad, put his ass on the bench. That's the only way they're going to learn. You're paying these guys millions and millions and millions of dollars to play a child's game, and sometimes they forget the fundamentals. And as a fan, that is so incredibly frustrating to watch. There needs to be accountability. And like I said, I don't need to see you screaming in a guy's face, because I don't agree with that. Like, I think that's wrong. But I need to know that there was accountability. I need to know that a conversation was had, because you can tell in the difference in a way a player was playing. Also, as the manager, pay attention to what these guys are saying to the media, right? Like, some of them are very good with the media, and some of them are horrible and need media training. Jazz being one of them. I really like Jazz as a player. I like how he plays, and he does not care what anyone thinks. But when you're talking to the media and you have your back turned to them, that is not okay. I get that you were upset that you weren't in the lineup, but they didn't make the lineup. The media didn't do it. Luke Weaver, accountability, buddy. Like, I don't want to hear, oh, well, maybe I was tipping pitches. Maybe, no, you stunk. Be better. I want answers like Ben Rice gives, like Giancarlo Stanton gives, right? You can be a little real, you can be a little raw, but like don't be ignorant. That is all the stuff that I put on Boone.
I'm just gonna lay back and let Ciarra cook because because she's saying all the things. You know, and so much blame to go around, and you know, so top to bottom, bottom to top, for sure. All the things you said times 12, and beyond, Ciarra, spot on with all of it. But the thing is, this is the story that's on repeat. I bet, you know, I bet last year, we were saying the same thing on this show when we didn't get all the way. But what are we supposed to say this year? Oh, we went further than expected. And we made it to the, you know, we were statistical tie for first place, and good on us for that. That's really great. And we, you know, we beat Toronto, you know, a little bit before they absolutely clobbered us. No, there's no consolation to any of this, and it's rinse and repeat every season. And so, and you're 100% right, and so many of you in the chat are right that the front office does not care. We, you know, fans like me have to remember this is a different New York Yankees. I still haven't gotten that into my aged head because they, to them, a successful season is in dollars and cents and butts in seats. And as long as we make it far enough for the profit, then that's their successful season. They are strictly business oriented. They are not guts and glory, protect the legacy. What is the friggin' legacy anymore? We are still holding on to the dynasty era. We should never move away from the dynasty era, but we need to stop pretending that we are still the dynasty team that we were. That has been gone since 2009, and the writing was on the wall before 2009. There was a lot of postseason that should have happened between 2000 and 2009. So, you know, I think a little bit of mindset shifting for our sanity, it has to happen for us as fans. And I will also say this: I'm 10 miles away from that stadium, and they are not getting a dime for me. And does my dime matter? No, but hundreds of millions of us and our dimes matter. The only way I feel that we are going to see a shift in this team, in this organization, is going to be the dollars. Stop buying the merch. Stop buying the chicken bucket. In fact, you won't be buying the chicken bucket if you're not a butt in a seat at a game. That is what's going to matter. You know, in education, we say that kids vote with their feet. If they're dropping out, if they're not attending school, it's because the school is not giving them what they're looking for, what they need. And so I say the same thing for the fans. We have to vote with our feet. We have to vote with our wallet, because we think, and I'm sorry, I'm saying we like everyone agrees with me, but you know, I think there's enough evidence. We sell out more times than not. Our stadium is not echoing for any game, regardless of the team we're playing. And I understand that part of that is tourism, right? Oh, you know, Yankee Stadium, very famous, must go when I'm in New York. But that's not it. That's not even an eighth of it. Um, we are we are still going as loyal fans, and I understand that. But when that loyalty goes away, when those season ticket holders that have been season ticket holders for years, or it's generational season ticket holders, and there are plenty of them that have had those seats since 1970 and before then you know what, those kind of things add up for them as an organization. And I, for one, and I have to believe that I'm just one person, but if one person becomes 100, becomes 1,000, I'm committing to it. I do not pay for that Gotham app. I refuse to pay for that Gotham app. They could take that Gotham app and put it where the sun doesn't shine. And so, I really wish that we could start that kind of a movement, because that's the only thing I feel that has the most power to shift something. And all the rest of it, definitely part of it. And I still have a lot to say about the rest of that. But fans, your loyalty is not about showing up and wearing a shirt on your back, whether it has a name on it or not, whether it has anything on the back of it or not. This jersey, by the way, has nothing on the back. So there, but it's still authentic, and I still bought it. And Major League Baseball and the Yankees still got money from it. I have caps galore. I'm done. Fanatics is going to say, "Oh, haven't heard from Lynn in a while. What is up?" No, they're not. But you get my point. We have to vote with our feet and our dollars, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only thing that we can do and have some sort of impact. So yes, I'm Norma Ray right now. Union. But that's my battle cry here on that, because
listen, I love it.
Nothing's
I love it. There. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I'm gonna go about it differently because I'm still gonna spend my money, but you're not wrong. I'm gonna agree with you and then go spend my money. I think that there's some blame to be put on the players this season. Like, we're talking about blame, right? Like, obviously front office, Cashman, and the coaching, like, that's a big, big part of it. But also we have to look at the players, right? Like, how inconsistent were certain players throughout this season. You have young guys in Volpe and Wells, where we've been waiting for this young core since the dynasty era, to your point. Because we had the baby bombers right back with Judge and Sevy and Gary Sanchez, and that just didn't work out. Judge worked out, but the rest of it didn't. You look back to the dynasty where you had Jeter, you had Posada, you had all those guys come up and really grow together. And now here we are in 2025, and we're waiting for Wells and Volpe to get their shit together and to be those guys. But we're 3 seasons in, and they're not. Now, Ben Rice, listen, typically I don't agree with the advanced stats and the unlucky hits and yada, yada, but I'll give it to them. He was very unlucky in the first half of the season. You saw a different Ben Rice in the second half, and even through the playoffs, that guy was on a tear, okay? But then you have, Goldie, who, again, I'll give him some grace because he's old, but great first half. Where was he in the second half of the season, right? You had Cody Bellinger even had some streakiness in him this season, which is, honestly, if you look at Belly's numbers overall through his career, that's to be expected. Stanton obviously was hurt to start the season, but he made an impact when he came back. Didn't show up in the postseason. Jazz, very, very streaky guy. 30-30 season, love to watch it, but he's not clutch. He does not. Aaron Judge cannot be the only clutch person on this team, okay? Trent Grisham had the best season of his career ever. Goes absolutely dark in the playoffs. ALDS, I want to say he struck out 10 times, which is horrible. Like, what are you even doing? And then, you have left field, like the whole mismanagement of Dominguez from last year through this year. I don't even know why the Yankees held on to him, why they didn't trade him. They clearly don't want him to develop with them or they don't see it. I don't know why he's even a part of this team. And that's not me saying I don't like Dominguez. It's me saying the Yankees clearly have no faith in this kid. And then the pitching staff, we got to talk. They get a lot of blame for the playoffs because when your starters can't go more than 3 innings, you are burning your bullpen, right? Like, they're exhausted. They're being mismanaged. They're being misused. Luke Weaver never, when he had an injury this season, never looked the same. Devin Williams stunk for 75% of the season. Michael Leiter Jr., very inconsistent. I don't know why Yarbrough wasn't on the postseason roster. I really don't. That still bugs me to this day. And then you go out during the trade deadline. You get a couple of utility guys, right? Yankees desperately needed them, and then you don't utilize them. You did not utilize Ahmed Rosario or Jose Caballero the way that you should have. But yeah, so the players do get some blame for this one as well. And then I guess you can put some blame on the injuries because let's face it. I mean, the Yankees are always injured, but like this seemed like this season, it was just every other day somebody was going down, specifically the pitchers, it felt like. So there wasn't a lot of durability. But then lastly, clubhouse accountability and leadership. Now, we can go back to the conversation we just had about Boone, but I'm talking about like player leadership, right? What is happening in that clubhouse that we are not seeing?
Yeah.
Right? Like
absolutely. And so I want to talk about exactly that question. So let me just ask you, Ciarra, Yankees aside for a minute, just as a baseball fan, what is your definition of captain?
To me, a captain is somebody who leads by example on the field, first and foremost, right? You got to be somebody who shows up in the big moments. You got to be somebody who's very consistent, but you also have to be somebody who holds yourself accountable and holds your teammates accountable and holds your organization accountable, right? Like you are essentially the face of the franchise, and we need to know that behind closed doors, there are things being talked about that you are talking to the players, holding them accountable, making them understand like, hey, we are trying to win. So this, that, and the third doesn't work, right? A guy who's comfortable talking to his management, talking to the owners about what is working, what is not working. And it's just somebody who wants to win, not somebody who's okay with winning regular season games, but somebody who wants to win a World Series championship. That's what a captain is to me.
Okay. I think that is a really great definition of captain. And I would take that a step further to say that they don't just say it in words, they show it in action. And it's not about just saying the right things to the media. I mean, we just talked a little bit about saying the absolute wrong things to the media. But it's also, look, the New York media, I can't speak for other parts of the country, but the New York media can smell a company line a mile away. And if you're going to be the captain that is not going to tell the truth or comes to some version of the truth, but then, packs around it with the, we know we have to do better. We just have to do better. It isn't going to be enough. For me, it's certainly not enough for me. A captain is somebody who's going to be a truth teller to me. A captain that's going to tell it like it is, not how the front office wants you to tell the media how it is. It is going beyond the obvious of, yes, we lost and we have to do better. Well, thank you for that, because I was not aware of that until you put that out there in words for me. It has to be more than that. It has to be, there has to be some evidence. Fans, like me at least, want to have some sort of a notion of what's going on back there. And that to me is part of the captain, to come out and say, look, we got together and had a real serious talk about what happened in this series. I have not heard that. I have not heard that from this captain. And that's where this discussion is leading. And so the Thurman Munsons, the Derek Jeters, the Graydon Nettles, you didn't get the company line that we've been fed for season after season after season. And there were also many times, and yes, I'm going back to the Steinbrenner era, where Steinbrenner and the captain were at odds. And you know what? That was okay to me as a fan, because it shows that the captains are standing up for their team, but also telling the fans where the warts are, and where they have to improve, because we're not going to get it anywhere else. Um, and what are you laughing at? I'll put it up, Ciarra.
No, I'm laughing at you with the warts comment.
Yeah, because Lord knows we need a whole lot of Campo Finique on this team. There's warts all over the place. And so state that obvious. Don't like give the yabba dabber. State the obvious, and then a little something about what they're going to do about it. Um, and so I remember, let's not forget that Stanton is the one that closed the door in the clubhouse allegedly, and reamed the team out, as we were getting into the postseason, and lit some butts on fire, and I would imagine called some people out by name. Why wasn't that Judge? Why has there been this co-captaincy need? For is it like this good cop bad cop mentality? Ain't it? So I need to say that Judge, to me, is not the definition of a captain, in my opinion. Is he everything that we want in a player? Absolutely. But am I seeing leadership? Not much. I see patting of the butts, and I'm seeing some talking in the dugout, but I'm not seeing it in action. I'm not seeing it in words that are of any consequence. And and I just feel like that is something that drives a team that has been lacking. And why was he made captain? He was made captain as part of the package, ladies and gentlemen. Would Judge have been named captain were it not for doing everything that we wanted the front office to do to re-sign him? I mean, Lord knows we all wanted it, and we were right in wanting it. We need him. But we need him on that wall. If you've watched Good Men, A Few Good Men, as many times as I have, you know what I mean by that. He's not standing on the wall and protecting he's standing on the wall and protecting the team in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it out. The fans smell it and see it. So call a thing, and we are not seeing that. Would Judge have been named captain if we didn't need him back so badly? Do you think he would have been named captain, Ciarra?
Yeah. Okay. So before I jump into my thoughts on Judge captaincy, you did talk about Stanton, so I want to touch on that real quick, because I always jokingly call him our captain, right? Not only does he hold the players only meeting with the closed doors, but you have to look at this year's postseason. Stanton struggled in the wild card. What did he do going into the DS? He was taking early batting practice, and that's what he did last year in 2024 when he won the ALCS MVP. He was out there before everyone taking early and extra batting practice. He was leading by example, and he did it again this season. And I think that's really big. And a lot of the younger players talk about how they look up to him and how they go to him for advice on hitting, etc. That is important. Now, Aaron Judge, all the players look up to him as well, obviously. He is the best pure hitter in baseball right now. I don't care what anyone says. He's better than Ohtani. He's better than Schwarber. He's better than Raleigh. He is the best player on the planet right now. I don't care that he can't pitch. With that being said, he is the captain because he is the best player, right? Like, he is the face of the franchise. He's the guy that sells the tickets. He's the guy that all the kids want to see. He sells the most jerseys. Like, he is this generation's Derek Jeter. And we are so incredibly lucky to watch Aaron Judge play day in and day out for the numbers he puts up, for the way that he represents the team. He has no scandals off the field, and that reminds me a lot of Derek Jeter, right? Like, he's just a pure baseball player. His personal life is his personal life. His baseball life is his baseball life. With that being said, Where I get frustrated with Aaron Judge is you have some moments where you're like, oh, wow, like that was a real captain moment. Like 2024, Marcus Stroman snaps on the infield and Judge says, hey, you can't do that, big guy. You got to get it together. We're a team, right? You saw that moment. But then you have these other moments where it comes out that Alex Verdugo is on the team because he's friends with Aaron Judge, that Ryan McMahon grew up with Aaron Judge and his wife. Like, you have these moments where it's like, oh, okay, so our team is being assembled of Derek Jeter's friend, or Derek Jeter, Jesus, of Aaron Judge's friends, right? Because then you also look at DJ LeMahieu. He's a big, big friend of Aaron Judge, and they dragged him into the 2025 season. Now, front office gave us a little bit of false hope when they did DFA him, but like those are the moments that you look at it and you're like, okay, is this what you want in a captain? Because you're dragging your friends into this, not because they're good, but because they're your friends. The only exception I'm going to give to this is Cody Bellinger. Bring that friend along anytime, okay? Love him. He actually played very well, but that's it. That's where I get frustrated with Judge, and I have mixed feelings on him. Because I grew up with Derek Jeter as the captain. He hated Alex Rodriguez. That wasn't his friend. He hated him, but you wouldn't know it because they played alongside each other. They got the job done. And look, A-Rod finally showed up in the 2009 World Series or 2009 playoffs and went on an absolute tear, and we won the World Series. But up until then, like, wasn't the greatest playoff guy for us. Derek Jeter never let us know how much he hated him. We knew it, but it never showed on the field. You never had a friend of Derek Jeter because he's a friend, right? Like, that's what bothers me. But then, like I said, you have those moments where it's like, oh, wow, like Judge, like this is why he's the captain. So I always have mixed feelings on Judge. And I think the problem is until he wins a World Series, he won't get that same respect that other captains in the past have.
I agree, really on most of your points, Ciarra. But I also feel like you can be the face of the Yankees because you are. We've known for a few seasons now that he is first ballot Hall of Famer, and that is a given. And so he could let him be the face of the Yankees in that way. It doesn't mean that he had to be captain. And I just feel like they were throwing all the things at him to secure him for the season. And it's put us in this position where there has to be good cop, bad cop. Stanton had to be the one because Judge, it really seems outside looking in is the one that's like, okay, listen, we don't say those things. That's really bad, Marcus. That's not the Yankee way. Okay, got it, coach. It's just there's a missing element here that is almost hard to define, but it is not coming from Aaron Judge. Because of all the things that came with the package, he is walking the company line. And to me, that is not a captain. I'm not going to repeat myself on that. And it really is, and I want to be clear about this. This is no disrespect to Aaron Judge. He has my highest opinion and regard. I do agree with you. I will be the first one. I won't walk into the stadium and pay to walk into the stadium, but I'll be outside the stadium picketing if he does not win MVP for the AL, because there should be absolutely no question. The jury is still out on Cal Raleigh. We cannot say about him that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, locked and loaded and a sure thing. And Judge did show up in the playoffs. That was new. And that's a sign of leadership. And I'm very happy to see that. But we need this captain to step up a little bit more on behalf of the team. And will we see it? I don't think so. And I do think that's a missing element that might have an impact, and I feel did have an impact on these years that in the mirror that we're seeing. And so I can't put it all on Boone. It's very convenient to, and in the heat of the game, it really helps to put it on him. But, Judge, I really feel needs to step it up a bit with the accountability factor with the press and say, yeah, you know what? We really screwed up, guys. We're going to be talking about it and looking at the reels together and holding each other accountable more, because that's what we need to do. I want to see some semblance of that, and maybe my expectations need to be managed a little bit better. I'll work on that at the same time, but I just hope he doesn't lose the MVP.
I think one of my favorite postseason pressers this season, or post game pressers this season, was from Ben Rice, who said maybe a little sense of urgency would be nice. Like basically calling out the entire team. That was probably my favorite moment, like after a bad loss, because Ben Rice, who is a rookie, was like, what the hell, guys? Like we need to get it together. So, but unfortunately we have to wait and see what happens in the off season. Right now, I'm going to stay positive until they show me otherwise this offseason.
Yeah. And so we also wanted to talk a little bit about the bullpen and the starters. And we're not heading into any hot stove talks right now. Far from it. But how did they impact us, and what needs to change there?
Oh my God! First of all, so the ALDS. The Yankees pitching had an 8.47 ERA. You're not going to win with an 8.47 ERA. Even if your offense shows up, you're not going to win when you're giving up 13, 14 runs. It's just not possible. With that being said, there's a lot of guys who are free agents. Devin Williams, Tim Hill, Yarbrough, Luke Weaver, Jonathan Loaizaga, who I never want to see ever again.
Ever.
They just need to start from scratch. You have Duvall. You have Bednar. Keep those two. Start over everywhere else, okay? Those are the only two I want to see back. Everybody else can go.
There needs to be an entire rebuild that I never foresaw. Luke Weaver, what the hell happened? I was like, put him in when we were like, when Cole went down, when Heel went down, I'm like, all right, put Weaver in the starting rotation, please. How did I go from that to this? Now he just needs to move on.
Look, if Weaver wants to be a starter, like he says he does, I hear that over in Queens they have a pitching lab. He can go join Clay Holmes and sign up for their pitching lab and do it over there, because ever since coming off that injury this season, he just wasn't the same. And I'm sorry, like if historically, if you look at bullpen guys, they have like 2 good years and then they kind of fall off a cliff and then they might come back. But like, it's one of the harder positions to be consistent in year after year. I mean, look at Devin Williams. He just won relief pitcher of the year or whatever the hell it's called. And we didn't see that version of Devin Williams. We saw a guy who was crying from the moment he got here because he never wanted to be here and didn't show up until the playoffs. So
that's right.
It's just time to move on from a lot of the bullpen. And unfortunately, on paper, we have a starting rotation next season. But I don't know how confident I feel right now, because Garrett Cole's coming off of Tommy John surgery. Max Fried, I don't know what the hell happened to him in the playoffs, but I think all the pressure might have finally gotten to him because he was never supposed to be the ace of this staff. Carlos Rodon was the most consistent in the playoffs, but it still wasn't spectacular. And then you have Cam Schlittler, who's going to be a full-on rookie next year. Loved everything I saw out of him this year, but next year we'll see a full season, so it'll be a better tell. And then you have Luis Gil, who we've all talked about it. He just doesn't – his velocity is not there. He doesn't look the same. I kind of blame the Yankees personally. I think they pushed him too far last season. He should have been on an innings limit, but they didn't do that because they were trying to go to the postseason, whatever. I'll die on that hill. I blame them. Anyway, and then you have Clark Schmidt, who's coming back probably in July of next year. Again, coming off of Tommy John surgery, second one of his career. Will Warren. Who the hell knows what they're doing with Will Warren? Most inconsistent pitcher I've ever seen in my life. So while on paper they have a rotation, actually they have extra guys, I don't really know if that means anything. And I'm really, really nervous about the pitching going into 2026. I will say that.
And I am in 100% agreement with you. The thing is, everyone seems to think that the starting rotation is not a need. And all the things you laid out, how are people not seeing that? Like, to me, the outfield is the least concern. The rotation has to be a big focus, because if Luis Gil has taught us anything, certainly hasn't given us anything, but he has taught us something. You can't come back from a long-term injury and expect the pitcher that you saw before it. Gil just had nothing when he came back, and he was thrown right into the mix with big expectations. So I'm going to say it. I know who Cole is. We all know who Cole is, but we cannot expect Cole to come back at the level he left us with. We can't. It's unfair. So yeah, I'm going to say it. Manage our expectations about Cole and Schmidt, because spring training might not be enough of a tell. I am sure, with 100,000% certainty, that Cole has been working and working and working to be ready. But we won't know how ready he is until he's on that mound. And so we need to have a plan. We need to have some reinforcements in place, because we can't count on Schmidt and Cole. I'm going to say that right now. We can't, and we shouldn't count on them being back the way that we're used to having them. Fried, I'm not going to be surprised. I am not manifesting it. I hope it's not the case, but there is always something more than a fingernail in the equation, or a wart, or a whatever. Karen, the nurse, left, so I can't turn to her. Whatever that thing was, it's so much more than that. I really believe that, and I think we're going to find out about that. And so I'm not so sure how much we're going to be able to count on Fried. I still believe in Rodon. I really do. I think that he showed us this season that we're finally getting the payoff from the retreat in the mountains in the 23 all season. And I think that the postseason got the better of him, and may he be able to work that out. May we pray that he gets to work that out, because there'll be a postseason next year. But we have to spend some money on some pitching, or we need to take a good hard look at AAA and even AA, and put some money in on development of those guys in the off season on hyper mode, and bring them up for a real chance. So we really do need to rebuild the rotation, and we need to build out that bullpen, because Bednar, I agree, nails. Thank God we got him. Devin Williams, I have to say, you know what? Once we put him in the middle innings, and he had his ego chopped down a bit, he started talking like a Yankee for the first time ever. I'm remembering an interview with Meredith, that he was really talking about the team and his role in the team. And I'm like, oh, did we convert him? I don't know, but it might be too little too late, because I do expect, and I agree that, we're not going to see him next year. I don't see him getting re-signed. Would I be mad if they did? Not as mad as I would have been a month ago. Because other than Bednar and Tim Hill, to your point, who else has been so reliable to any effect? Duvall has been a slow burn, looking better, but I'm still not entirely convinced on that acquisition. So we have to take a good, long, hard look at the pen and the rotation.
Listen, the Yankees outfield is clogged. Make some trades. Do what you got to do. I mean, we don't have time for it today, but you also have to talk about the fact that where does Spencer Jones fit into the 2027, oh my God, 2026 equation? Where does he fit in with this clogged outfield, right? They have to make some moves this offseason, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because they can't expect Spencer Jones to stay in AAA after the season he just had.
Yep, absolutely. And so with all that being said, we know what we want to see. We want to see some real introspection and action on the pitching front. Um, and I did just say a minute ago that I'm good with the outfield. However, would you believe that there's fans talking about Belly versus Kyle Tucker? Because Belly, as we know, is exploring free agency, and who would blame him? But Kyle Tucker is now there's this debate going on.
Listen, do I like Kyle Tucker? Absolutely. However, you know what Belly can do for you. He just gave you a great season in 2025, right? Like he was very, like, even though I said earlier, he was a little streaky at times, but for the most part, he was very consistent. He's more versatile than Kyle Tucker, right? He can play all three outfield positions and play them pretty damn well, in my opinion. And he can flip and play first base if we needed him to. Kyle Tucker isn't as versatile. Kyle Tucker is also going to cost more money. There was talks last year that Kyle Tucker is looking for close to a Vladdy or a Juan Soto type contract. Now, Vladdy's playing up to that contract he just got. Let me just throw that out there. I still would have loved to have him in pinstripes, but that's a whole different conversation. But Kyle Tucker is looking for big money. Cody Bellinger is looking for more money, as he should, because of the way he just played this season, but he's not going to. I personally don't think he would get the contract that Tucker's looking for. I say go after Belly, re-sign him, let Grisham walk. Grisham had the best season of his career, but he didn't show up in the playoffs, and it's just not worth it to me to re-sign him when you have Dominguez and you have Jones that you have to figure out. And obviously Aaron Judge isn't leaving the outfield anytime soon. So I personally say go after Belly. Neither one of them showed up in the playoffs, Tucker or Belly. They both stunk. So go with the one that you know.
I'm with you on that. And I'd also counter those numbers, those postseason numbers, with the guys that did have good postseason numbers that did absolutely nada in our so-called run for winning this postseason. So, numbers are what they are. We guide by them and we look to them, but it's not the entire equation. And we need that super utility, because we also have to remember that that's really gonna help us. First base, we don't even have time this show to talk about first base and what's going to happen there. But that's a spot that Belly can fill. We also have to think about the fact that Cabrera is coming back from the IL next season. Does he pivot to super utility, or are we gonna have any sort of memory about how well, in my opinion, he was adjusting at third? But again, the rule still applies. He's coming back from a long-term injury, so I'm not putting any bets on that. But
I think the biggest thing too, just back to the whole Belly thing in his versatility, we have to think, so different ballparks have different dimensions. So being able to flip Belly from right to left or left to center based on the dimensions of the fields, that is huge. To have a guy who can just fly through the outfield with ease in any spot and make it look so natural. And he makes some crazy catches, but also to have a guy who can flip the first base when your first baseman needs a day off. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, I think that's pretty important, because to your point, we don't know what's happening with first base. I do not foresee a future with Goldschmidt. He's 39 years old. Ben Rice, if he's going to play first base, needs to do a lot of work in this offseason. But there's a lot of talk out there that Ben Rice is already kind of a DH, if anything, which brings us to another position that is clogged in this lineup. There's a lot of work the Yankees need to do, and we can't solve it in the next 30 seconds. So
right,
we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And we are looking to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but I want to toss one more thing at you. There's a lot of former Yankees that are heading into free agency or opt-outs. And on Twitter at Yankees Report had a laundry list that we don't have time to go through, and we're not gonna. But let me put some names out to you, and I'm interested to hear from the chat and hear from you now, Ciarra. So let me just tell you, Gleyber Torres up for grabs, IKF up for grabs, Michael King up for grabs. I'm just tossing those 3 names out of a long list. I have a feeling I know where you're leaning on the Gleyber front, but I wouldn't be mad at it, Ciarra. So with those 3 names, interested to hear what you think about IKF. Listen, he had a 262 40 RBI season this year since IKF left us. So again, another one that went and did all kinds of things that we didn't get. Would we get him if he came back? And Michael King, yeah, he's coming back. He came back this season from a lot of injuries, but we did see a first complete game from him, and a first shutout. And Michael King could be a really great person to have back in the pen, is from where I'm looking. And I wouldn't be mad at having Torres back, because Lord knows, yes, our infield is stacked, but look what it's stacked with. And we do have Rosario and Cabby. I'm not negating that, but should any of those guys be considered? Just
listen. I'm gonna start with IKF. I've always loved IKF. I think he had such a good bounce back in 2023. Was such a good sport, the ultimate utility guy. But I don't think there's a spot for him on the Yankees moving forward. I have so much respect for him. He's the ultimate journeyman. He can play catcher. He can play third. He can play second short. He plays the outfield. He pitched for us. Like, nothing but respect for him. However, I just don't see it. I think Caballero is a better option moving forward. Michael King, I have mixed opinions on Michael King, because first, right out the gate, was one of the best pitchers in baseball this season. And it's like, wow, this is the guy that we let walk, or I shouldn't say let walk. This is the guy that we let go for one season of Juan Soto, right? Like, that was my thoughts. But then he got injured, and that just seems to be an issue with the Yankees already. So I don't know where I truly feel on that one, because I don't know which version of Michael King you're going to get. Gleyber Torres, I don't think I even need to say it. Bring my boy home, okay? Did he play Gold Glove defense? No. Did he play much better defense in Detroit than he played in New York? Absolutely. But look at how his coaches managed him versus how the New York Yankees coaches managed him. There is the huge difference. However, as much as I would love to have him back, I don't know if Gleyber would ever come back, even if they wanted him, because of the way they treated him on his way out. Cashman made a bunch of unnecessary comments about Gleyber after he gave us, oh God, I can't do math, like 8 seasons. A guy who shows up in October, a guy who was all about the Yankees, loved being a Yankee. The way that Cashman talked about him on his way out, if I was Gleyber, I would never step foot back in Yankee Stadium unless I'm playing against them. I wish nothing but the best for Gleyber Torres. He's still my favorite player in baseball. I don't care what anyone has to say about it. I'm so happy he had the season he did this year. Sad that the Tigers aren't advancing, because I wanted to see my guy get a World Series ring, but wish him nothing but the best. He's not even 30 yet, so he has plenty of years left in his baseball life.
Right. Just not with us. All right. Last prediction. We're going to do predictions because we don't want to deal with reality. So who's going to make it to the World Series, Ciarra? We the stage is set now. We know the brackets here for the ALCS and NLCS. Who's your call for the World Series?
I think, I'm mostly saying this because I don't want the Dodgers to go, but I think it's going to be the Brewers and the Mariners. Listen, 3 out of 4 teams left have never won a World Series, and I think that's pretty incredible. Putting my Yankee fandom aside, it's pretty cool for the Blue Jays to be where they're at. It's cool for the Brewers and the Mariners. I think this is I talked crap about them a month ago because I thought that they were not real, but I think this is the Brewers season, and they have what it takes to win the whole thing. And I think Caleb Durbin is going to really, really impress some people moving. Like, I mean, he already is, but like moving forward in the DS, and if they make it to the World Series, and we're all going to be thinking, why the hell didn't we keep Caleb Durbin?
Yeah, I'm already thinking that. And so Jonathan is there as well. Brewers and Mariners in the World Series. You know, I'm really an anyone but the Dodgers kind of girl at the moment. But I do really, and anyone but the Blue Jays forever, not just at the moment. So I really want a Cinderella story. I need something to lift the heart a little bit. And I really would like to see the Brewers versus the Mariners in the World Series, and that's going to be a tough one then to who to root for there, because either way, that's going to be a Cinderella ending for either team. First I really want the Mariners to get there. So we're jumping the gun a bit, but we're not going to be speaking before this all goes down. So we're jumping right to the World Series.
I do think if the Blue Jays make it to the World Series, that they could win it. And I could see Vladdy being the MVP. Just with the tear that he's on right now, like that guy is just, I know other people don't like him, but he's just so fun to watch. Like,
yeah, I'm with you, Jonathan. It's so hard to root for him, and he loves making it hard to root for him. I mean that whole "duh, Yankees lose." On you know what?
I love it. Top tier trolling. Do it.
That's what I was about to say. I love some good shade, even when it's about us. And so I used to really have be in my feelings about Vladdy. Now he just gets mad respect from me. And so we'll just have to see. But we're discounting them in all of this, and we probably shouldn't be. So it's going to be interesting to see. So chat, this wraps up the 2025 season for us. It was wrapped days ago. And so, and then, all right, Jared, you got to put that up. Yeah. So most of us would, and apparently I'm choking having just said that. Excuse me. So just a note about moving forward for the Upper Deck. We're going to take a little bit of a break during the postseason, and we'll be back live the first Sunday after the World Series, and go right into hot stove season at our usual time, 11 a.m. So please watch for your notifications. It's going to be a fast flying week with the ALCS, NLCS, and right into the World Series. And who wants to talk about that? We're not in it. So we'll be back live the Sunday after we know who the world champions are. And I just want to drink some water, Jared. Yeah, I'm guzzling, but once it's in there, it's in there. It's really the season making me choke because
hey, the Yankees choked. Why can't we?
Exactly. So I'm just gonna have to choke. And so listen, chat, on behalf of Ciarra and me, you have made this season and its conclusion all the better because of showing up for us through all our time changes. You've shown up. We're looking forward to hot stove season with you. And Lord knows the speculation mill is already turning, and we're not even out of this season yet. So there's going to be so much to talk about. Thanks for co-hosting with us all year long. Ciarra, thank you for being such a great co-host and bringing the fire and the stats and the facts. And look, fans forever, or we wouldn't be here talking about it every Sunday with you. Win or lose, we're Yankee fans. We have our thoughts and feelings, and that's what makes us Yankee fans. So just remember, you have that reserve seat with us right here on the Upper Deck, and we look forward to talking about the future with you first Sunday after the World Series. So thank you, everybody. You have that reserve seat for us. That is a season ticket that I support. And you have it. So thanks for everything, everybody. And I'm still gonna say it. Go Yankees! You're going home, but we're looking forward to a good future. Be well, everybody.